This week, we're looking ahead to the November 2026 elections and the race for U.S. House District 3. Two candidates have filed to run, incumbent Republican Congressman Steve Womack and Rob Ryersey, a Democrat. You'll hear our full conversation with Ryersey in just a moment. We did talk to Congressman Womack at a groundbreaking for a Highway 112 expansion before he voted to end the government shutdown.
I know my friends on the left want to talk about health care, and we're going to need to have that conversation. The problem is you can't really have that conversation unless you've got an open and functioning government, and I think that ought to be job one right now, getting the government reopened and back to the negotiating table.
And joining us now on 40/29 News on the Record is Rob Ryersey, running against Congressman Steve Womack. Thank you so much, Rob, for joining us on our program today. You are a Democratic candidate running for House District 3. So tell us about your decision to go into it and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Una, for having me on the show. Appreciate that. I moved here to Northwest Arkansas with my wife about 20 years ago. We came here to start a church and have been serving there and a variety of other places in the area for the last 20 years. And I got to tell you, I'm just deeply concerned about the future of the country, deeply concerned about the direction that we're going. And I feel like we ought to have a representative who represents the people of this district. And I don't feel like Steve Womack has been that, and so decided that this was the time to challenge him and to run for Congress.
And let's talk about your politics, because you were a Republican, you switched parties to be a Democrat. What went into that decision?
Yeah, I'm like a lot of people that have been through like a political identity crisis where you just don't know where you fit, and you can feel kind of politically homeless. I don't know if you know this, but 87% of voters in this district aren't registered with a political party. They are registered as no party affiliation. And what that tells me is that people care much more about what someone's going to do for our families, for our communities, for our schools, for jobs, rather than what party they belong to. So yeah, I switched parties because I, have shifted in my political beliefs over the years, like a lot of people have. But party's not the most important thing to me. Serving the people of this district is.
And the people of this district, what are they telling you that they need from the federal government?
Well, right now, everyone's really nervous about the economy. And not just the economy in general, like is this big out there kind of thing. It's like how much dinner costs. How much healthcare costs, how much my housing is, whether it's a mortgage or a rent. And people are really nervous about the cost of living and how it's dramatically increased. There were promises that it was going to be brought down, and months and months into the new administration, nothing has been done to bring down the cost of living, and people are really nervous about it.
How do you feel about the government shutdown? Could it have been avoided, or how would you have voted?
It absolutely could have been avoided if Congress would do its job. The reason we have government shutdowns is because Congress doesn't pass a budget and appropriations bills like they're supposed to. They punt with these continuing resolutions and have these artificial these artificial deadlines that produce the shutdowns. Now, if Congress would do its job and the Republican leadership in D.C. would do its job and actually pass a budget and appropriation bills, we wouldn't have these. And so, now that being said, I don't want the government shut down, but I also don't want people's health care being used as a political football. And the idea that 20 million Americans were going to have really significant increases in their health insurance subsidies through the Affordable Care Act, that's a real concern and a real problem. And frankly, remains a real concern and a real problem. Republicans have promised that they'll bring that up as a vote and negotiate to take care of those subsidies, but I don't know if I trust them.
What do you think about the Senate Democrats who did kind of, step over party lines or vote across the aisle to get the government back open.
Yeah, and I absolutely want the government open. Not in favor of the government being shut down. It was a real problem with, all the people losing SNAP benefits. But these Senate Democrats did not get anything. This wasn't a compromise. This wasn't a negotiation where they got something in return.
Yes.
All they got was what Republicans were offering the whole time, which was a promise that, hey, maybe we'll talk about this and maybe we'll vote on it in the future. Fingers crossed. I think the Senate Democrats made a real mistake.
In addition to the economy, what other top issues are you focusing on?
Yeah, I mean, the economy's huge, and it spans a whole bunch of different things. Housing affordability is a real problem. Since 2019 here in Northwest Arkansas, mortgage costs have gone up 70%, and rental costs have gone up 50%. Now, I don't know anybody whose salary went up that much in the last 5 years. And so people are really struggling with, like, can I afford to buy a house? Can my kids afford to buy a house? Maybe I need to move. I want to downsize. My wife and I, like, we've got 4 kids. One of them's left at home, and we've talked about, like, hey, maybe we don't need this much house. We could, buy something small. We couldn't buy something smaller because we couldn't afford anything. So we've got to do something about affordability of housing and recognizing that it's not just that our housing isn't affordable. We don't have enough of it. We don't have enough of it at all.
What's the number 3 issue?
Yeah. I think healthcare is a real concern, and it's been brought back to light by the shutdown debacle, and Democrats in the House and Senate have done a good job shining light on that. People should not be bankrupted by getting sick. The cost of health care is so expensive, and then we buy this insurance on top of it that's supposed to help, and it's got high deductibles, and it just, this system is fundamentally broken, and it needs to be addressed by leadership. Republicans, what Steve Womack wants to do is get rid of the subsidies. He's campaigned for years about repealing Obamacare and wants to get rid of it altogether. I think, okay, the Affordable Care Act, we absolutely need the subsidies, but we've got to go beyond that and actually make sure that people have the health coverage they need. And one of the places I think we need to start is by decoupling health insurance from your employment. Like right now, there's a mom in Bentonville, woman sitting at her desk who's got like the idea for the great next American company, the thing that's going to change everything. But she can't quit her job and go for it because she's got a daughter at home with a pre-existing condition, and she can't risk losing her health insurance. Our system right now is bad for entrepreneurship, it's bad for the economy, it's bad for people who want to chase the American dream. And so I think what we need to do is decouple insurance from employment and make sure everyone has health coverage.
How do you think the Trump administration is handling immigration?
Not good. Now listen, Donald Trump has made a lot of promises that he was going to deport criminals. And I saw a headline this morning that 97% of the people detained by ICE in Chicago don't have a criminal record. 97%. So I think, what we've got with this situation with immigration, we have a broken immigration system. And it's super complicated because not every person that's coming into the country is the same. They're coming for different reasons. Some are asylum seekers, and there's a whole set of rules for that. Some want to actually relocate and live here in the United States. There's a whole set of rules for that. Some want to work. Some want to go to school. Some want to work, seasonal jobs. There's all these different sets of rules, and there's huge backlog of people waiting in line. And so what Republicans and Steve Womack did was add $40 billion to the ICE budget for new facilities to be built, detention centers, when that money could have been spent on asylum judges and people to process things, help people move through the process. So what we've got is we've got a broken system, and then we have a president who is using that broken system to rip families apart and railroad people out of the country.
Welcome back to 4029 News on the Record. We continue our conversation with the Democratic candidate for U.S. Congress District 3. We have the Russia-Ukraine war still. How do you think the administration is handling that? And how do you think they handled the Israel-Hamas war?
Yeah. Listen, I'm not a fan of like endless wars. I don't like the idea of the United States being involved all over the world in all sorts of different things, because I think what happens is there's a lot of big corporations that get rich off of that. They make billions of dollars off of those kinds of things. When I look at Ukraine, Ukraine is the victim of aggression from Russia, and they absolutely have the right to defend themselves. The president has kind of been wish-washy on this. He's kind of been flip-flopped, been back and forth of whether he supports Ukraine or not. And right now it seems like he is, and so that's a good thing. What happened with Israel and the attacks on October 7th, listen, this conflict between Israel and Palestine didn't start on October 7th 2 years ago. It's been going on for a very long time, and it's a super complicated situation. What I know is that a group of people should not be killed, starved, targeted, simply because of their heritage and where they live. That seems wrong to me. Not just seems wrong, that is wrong. And so, I'm glad that we have some semblance of an agreement to bring an end to the conflict in Israel and Palestine. I'm very skeptical that it will stick. And if a genocide continues in Palestine, I will be a strong voice saying this is wrong, and the United States. Listen, if Israel is our friend, sometimes you've got to say to your friend, hey, listen, what you're doing right now isn't okay. And friends should be able to have that conversation. And I think that's the kind of conversation we need to have with Israel right now.
All right, Rob, we're running out of time, but thank you so much for joining us here on 4029 News on the Record. Rob Ryersey is the Democratic candidate